Okay, so welcome Pnina, welcome Sarla. Um, I just want to dedicate this class to two special people. One is Nami Bas Yehuda David. She's the mother-in-law of Esti Marazav, who's one of my mentors. She passed away, and also there was a car crash with Bachrim, and one of the boys um, is related to one of our neighbors. So it should be Nishmasei, and his name is David Yitzchak ben Moshe. We should have no more pain and only simchas and only happy occasions. So we have a very, very special sicha this week. Um, we're now in Chelek Chaf Ches of Likkutei Sichos, and the sicha is titled Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Um, so what happens on Rosh Chodesh Sivan? The Yidden come to Har Sinai. And just the fact that they come there, even before the giving of the Torah, is already an incredible, incredible thing. We see in the Haggadah, we say that if Hashem just brought us to Har Sinai and didn't give us the Torah, we would say Dayenu. So if we came to Har Sinai and we didn't get the Torah, what's the big deal? What's the greatness? Why would we say thank you to Hashem for just bringing us to the mountain if we didn't give us the Torah? And the answer is just bringing us there accomplished something tremendous. And that is that we rested ke'ish echad b'leiv echad, like one person with one heart. And in order for that to happen, that unity, that incredible unity, we had to be lifted up to a very high level. And therefore, there's so much to celebrate. Just Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the fact that we were like one man with one heart. So on this day that they come to Har Sinai, we don't find any instructions that Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Yidden anything, and we don't find the Yidden asking anything from Moshe Rabbeinu. Imagine you plan the trip to go to Israel or to go wherever wherever it is, something or any special, something very, very special in your life, and finally you waited and waited and waited. Finally comes that time. Finally, you arrive to your destination, and as tired as you are, you're so excited to be there that the tiredness, the tiredness is a non-issue. And here we find that the Yidden arrived to Har Sinai, and Moshe doesn't tell them anything about anything they have to do to prepare for Har Sinai. And the Yidden, they finally got there. They should be so excited. They don't come demand from Moshe Rabbeinu any instructions either. And that day, quiet. Moshe doesn't say a word to the Jews. The Jews don't say anything to Moshe Rabbeinu. And why? Because they were tired from their journey. And the Rebbe takes issue with this. What do you mean they were tired from their journey? What does that mean? How tired could they have been? First of all, the distance that they were going from the place before to Matan Torah was a distance of about 3 miles. It's not like it's the end of the world. Second of all, remember the clouds of glory. Yeah, they had everything that they need. They had the clouds of glory. What is it? Emotionally tired. Okay.
We're tired of the whole thing they went through.
Yeah, that's right.
So they left Mitzrayim about 6 weeks before. They're traveling to come to Har Sinai for weeks already. Finally, you arrive. Now you're going to go and take a nap. Like this is they finally arrived. And also, so number one, it wasn't such a far distance they were actually traveling. Number two, they have the clouds of glory. So the terrain is smooth. It's not like they're climbing heavy mountain, big tall mountains. There's no bumps along the way. And third of all, there are different, the Gemara discusses which day of the week was the Torah given. Was it Shabbos? Was it the sixth day of the week? Was it the seventh day of the week? But in all opinions, according to all opinions, Rosh Chodesh was either Sunday or Monday. So they just had Shabbos. They just rested on Shabbos. They just had 24 hours to rest. They wanted to think. They were emotionally tired. Whatever it is, they had. It's not Thursday. It's the beginning of the week. It's a new week. It's the beginning of a week. It's not so far. They're doing spare time every single day. They're preparing to receive the Torah. Like what's I mean, that they finally arrive. They finally arrive, and now they're now they have to take a nap.
Maybe
How-
they were waiting, like, they didn't say anything, but they were just waiting for the Torah. They were waiting, like, okay, all the other times they asked Moshe, then now they need to wait to kind of accept whatever's gonna be happening. Why is there such emphasis on the snap?
Like when Shabbos is
We
coming.
missed you.
It's me too. When Shabbos is coming, I try to take a nap, so I should have faith to stay up for the Friday nights.
But we know already. We know we stay up a whole night. The men stay up a whole night Shavuos. It was a mistake that they went to sleep.
That's later. That's
Yeah.
That's the word that it's for. What does it say, the nap? Does it really mean nap? It's something else. I mean nap.
No, it says from the difficulty of the travel. From the difficulty of the travel, Moshe didn't say anything. Moshe was quiet. Moshe didn't say anything. But think of it, if you're traveling somewhere with your kids and they get there, they're so excited. What do you mean? Okay, let's be quiet now. Look at these questions. Where should we go? Where should we go camp? What are we yes allowed to do? Where can we yes go? Where can we not go? There's so many questions. And every other day leading up to Matan Torah, there was something else. On Beis Sivan, that's the day that Hashem chose us to be his nation. Mamlachas Koyanim, Goy Chodesh. On Gimel Sivan is when Hashem says, okay, Hashem gives the limits. He says, you can't go past you can't go up on the mountain. There's a Hagbala, there's a limitation of where you can go until. Dalit Sivan, they were told that they should separate from their wives to be in a holy spiritual state to receive the Torah. Hey Sivan, they bring sacrifices, they say Nasav and Ishma. So every day there was news, there was something to do, there was something to talk about. Here, they're quiet.
What day was the quiet? The day
The day that they arrived, Rosh Chodesh Sivan.
I think it makes sense, a lot going on, Yeah, like it maybe needs to it needs to get your hearts ready to the next, gotta be a certain state, maybe. There's it couldn't be,
there's something to be said for quiet.
They needed to have that.
I just had to
Stay
read the
still. I
Okay.
think it had to be like a state of complete, a certain state to be in, or to the pose.
Right.
Okay, so Baruch Hashem, your brains are already trained to think in this direction. Excellent. Okay, so just like physical traveling makes a person tired, this wasn't physical exhaustion, but it was spiritual exhaustion, as many of you hinted to, I mentioned. It wasn't just moving from point A to point B, but also when we move in a spiritual journey, whether it be going from down to up, whether it be going from right to left to right, or up to down, whatever direction you're moving, even in our spiritual journey, one day or one chapter of our life, we're involved and dedicated to one thing, and then things can shift, and then all of a sudden our spiritual journey takes us somewhere else, and we're busy with something else. Sometimes we're busy with davening, sometimes we're busy with learning. But in any time there's a shift, even a spiritual shift, from one journey to another journey, from one place to another place, that takes spiritual energy, and that could be spiritually exhausting. So this entire time that they're from when they left Egypt until they came to Har Sinai, every single day, the spiritual journey. When they left Egypt, they were on the 49th level of impurity. And Hashem had taken them out at that split second, because if not, they would have sunken into the 50th level of impurity. Then there would be no return. There would have been no possibility for them to even come out. So for 49 days, we count the Aimer, and this is what we're doing right now. Every single day, we're supposed to rectify another midah, another character trait to prepare ourselves for Matan Torah. And the Yidden were obviously doing the same thing. Every single day, they were going on a spiritual journey. It wasn't just traveling physically, but they were also going on a spiritual journey to get from one level to the next. That's what they were doing. And that's what that's what they're doing every single day. So what's different over here? What's different over here, Rosh Chodesh Sivan? What happens here? Until now, the growth was systematic. It was baby steps, but there was a system, and it was every day, a little more growth, a little more growth, and it was like going, climbing a ladder, one step at a time. But what happens is when they travel from Refidim to Har Sinai, there is a fundamental transformation. It's a huge leap. It's a huge spiritual jump. And that takes a lot of effort.
Be ready for the days of stuff.
There's something here. There's something here in this spiritual journey from Refidim to Har Sinai, this traveling to reach Har Sinai, to reach this mountain that was much greater than any other spiritual journey until now. And we know that a spiritual journey can make you exhausted, right? Breath work, for example, right? So breath work, you're not running a marathon, right? But emotionally, you're doing a lot of inner work. And when you're done the breath work, you're exhausted. Or therapy or whatever it is. I'm not talking about physical therapy. I'm talking about if a person goes to a therapist and is doing inner work to try to change, to try to work on their nature, on their habits, or their, to try to grow. So that's exhausting. Spiritual work is exhausting, is physically exhausting. So here it's not a gradual change. There's an extreme change that happens. And the extreme change is Ke'ish echad b'leiv echad. It says, Vayichan sham Yisrael neged ahar, that the Yidden camped opposite the mountain. Vayichan, which means and he camped. Vayichan is in singular, is a singular term. It should have said Vayachanu, and they camped. But because it says Vayichan and he camped, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, so it's talking about the Yidden, but it's saying, and he camped in singular tents. So from there, Rashi learns and the Mefarshim learn that they were like one man, like one person with one heart. And Rashi continues and says, all the other travels were full of machlokes and fighting, and here this was different. Here they were like one man with one heart. So first of all, we have to just say that all the other times that there was fighting, all the other stops, it says there was machlokes, they were not fighting over material things. Oh, you pitched your tent in my spot. It wasn't that kind of fight. But it was all fighting, it was all machlokes l'shem shamayim. It was all for the sake of heaven. So even before the Torah was given, the Yidden learned Torah. So maybe there was a machlokes l'shem shamayim. This person understood Torah this way. This person understand the halacha that way. So we know that there's Shivan Panim La Torah. There's 70 different ways to understand Torah. And we're not all created the same. And we all have different ways of looking at things. Also with Rabbi Akiva and the students, why were there was this Magefa. What was the issue? What was the issue there? That they all loved each other so much that they wanted the other person to understand Torah to understand the Rebbe's Torah the way they perceived it. So we're all different. We all see things differently. We learn Torah in different ways. We understand things differently. So all the machlokes was all Torah related, halacha related. It was all l'shem shamayim. But comes Rosh Chodesh Sivan. They come to the mountain. And then even machlokes l'shem shamayim didn't exist. There was no machlokes, no fighting, not even for a good cause, not even for Hashem. They were all lifted up. lifted up and transformed to such a high level where there was no differences at all, not even differences of opinion of how to look at Torah. I was listening.
That was that child. What happened before that?
Now, I don't think it was Rafidim. I think it was Har Sinai that made the jump, arriving to Har Sinai.
That was the preparation. No. It went from here to Har Sinai. You said it was a huge jump.
I think it was just arriving and experiencing and seeing this. They were here. They were here. You come. It's the wedding day. You know, just arriving. You imagine you're getting on a plane. You come to Eretz Yisrael. Just arriving there. It says that when they arrived, there was all of a sudden there was like an incredible spiritual light.
They know they would hear Hashem's voice. They knew, like like before they got there. Was
That's a good question.
Like that was maybe or did it was like at that moment?
They're going to get a Torah.
But they know that they're going to get such a revelation beforehand.
Just the oil of Hashem alone could do that.
I was saying, did they know what that was like? They were going to hear a voice.
They did. We have to say that they did know to a big extent what where they were headed, because they're preparing for this. The whole purpose of going out of Mitzrayim was in order to get the Torah. So they know that it wasn't a surprise. They're working towards this.
Maybe that's what it also like.
And you know what? Even if they did know what it meant, to know what it means.
That's what they like.
They were on such a low level, they couldn't really imagine those high things, so that's why they were lifted to be on a higher level.
Yeah.
That's why that ends up like almost dying, but died for a second because it was it was too much for them.
Yeah, the nesham's out their bodies. And I'm saying, even if you know what to expect, or you think you know what to expect, knowing and experiencing is two different things.
Okay, who brought them to this level? Was it Hashem, or was it their work that brought them to such a level?
Excellent question.
Because I said that Hashem brought us out of Mitzrayim, not because of Lola Abidei Malach, but only Hashem had to Atzmo. Hashem brought us out, he and his hand, or else we wasn't stuck there. Hashem's the one that brought us out, but we didn't deserve to go home.
But they worked on their character.
Right, but I think to get the Torah, don't we say in the whole thing that Elah holds it, that only because Hashem is Rachmanis and he himself lowered them out, he brought us out. We didn't to get the Torah, no?
Days of lifting themselves.
No, but why did we have the Torah? Why did we have the time to get the Torah? No, that.
But from leaving the Mitzrayim until they actually got Torah, it was 49 days.
Right, but I'm
They
saying
had
like.
enough character work that actually maybe prepared them.
Right, but I feel like what maybe like the actual fact that they got the Torah itself is always Hashem. With that, we didn't deserve it. No, it's like when we didn't deserve it, only for Hashem for us, and we weren't deserving of it.
Right, it's a gift that Hashem initiated the movement, like.
We had to do a little work, but
Sure, it came from Hashem, but they also put in the work.
Yeah.
With those preparations.
So the answer is yes, they didn't put in their work to be able to receive the Torah, and they had to say Nasav and Nishma, and they had to accept it, right? But the Matan Torah is Hashem giving us a gift. Hashem lifted us up. It's something, yes, we did our part, we did our work, but this is something that Hashem gifted us with, to lift us up, to reveal something incredible. So it's a gift from Hashem, and we have to accept the gift. But Hashem is doing initiate. Hashem is gifting us. Hashem is gifting us by Matan Torah. It's a matana. Excellent question. Going back to the machlokes, the Shem Shemayim. So I was listening to my husband give the class. So he said that growing up in Detroit, every Friday night the Gabbai would announce. The Gabbai announces what time is going to be Shachris next morning. So it would say Shachris tomorrow morning is going to be at 9:07 and a half. There are some people that want the Shachris at 9 a.m. Some people want the Shachris at 9:15. We machlokes the same shemayim. When should, there's the Zman, and they want to learn Chassidus before davening. 9:07 and a half for years. That's when they announce what time Shachris is going to be. But to be able to rise above the 907 and a half. It's a higher level where it's not about me. It's bird's eye view. It's a different, a completely different perspective and a completely higher level.
It's where you are. Are you looking at Hashem or are you looking at yourself? When you're standing in front of the king, who's so awesome, you don't think of yourself at all.
Right.
You're out the window. Everything else just, it's like you said, on your wedding day, you're really above everything. You're on such a different planet. Nothing can touch you on the wedding day.
So this was exactly it. This was, this was, you see, something changed. And this was contrary to our nature. Usually our nature is we have our talents, we have our opinions, we have our perspectives, and that's usually the way we operate. But here, it's not just when we say like one person with one heart, it's not just that we were all doing the same thing. We all agree, Shacharis is 907 and a half. It's not that just we all agree to do the same thing at the same time, but rather in their heart, they were united. It was an internal unity, not just an external unity. Okay, I'll give in. I can rise above myself. And this caused great tiredness. And because it was such a special...
I get what you're saying, but can you explain why it caused tiredness? What was the catalyst for causing the tiredness? They get the unity, the heart being one, it caused the alchemy, but I want to understand why.
To be able to let go of the you, of the ego, for real.
It's like that spiritual moment you see, like when people sing and dance, they become like one, like a little bit of that. Like you see these events where people get like that feeling of inspiration, like and then everybody's like feeling next, like a little bit of that. Like they're like they're not inhibited, they're not thinking about who's different. You said that after sometimes, like in these like spiritual like gatherings.
You go to a Shabbaton and the Shabbos is almost over, everyone's singing.
And there's a certain like letting go, like a
Yeah.
feeling of like
That's from an external.
that spiritual connection.
Come to that internal place, not
Well,
one
at the same
external
time,
awakening.
Why, if Hashem is gifting
Because
us,
it's like
why
that
is it
spiritual
making
connected
us
because of a certain
I think Hashem get the gift.
We have to be
It's a
some
level.
toilets.
We're not yet. We didn't get to the toilet.
We're
I
already
feel like
standing here with
it's a
one
spiritual
heart.
If I pull out, you did internal work.
Hashem gave us this
I
gift.
feel like it's a spiritual awakening. Feeling. Like that also like a spirituality like that invokes. That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Yes.
it's not about me, but it's like a certain spirituality evoking like a little bit of that. Also, like you're hugging the person next to you without like thinking where they're from, or it's like a certain spirituality, like that feeling. We all want to be connected to God. It's a divine connecting.
You know,
It's like a divine spirituality.
49 days to Sivan. And see, we had 49 days to Sivan. If I can fix one thing in 49 days, I would be in heaven.
But it was a unity, it's not about you, it came like,
Right.
when you fix yourself,
Okay,
Do they feel this?
Rabbi Dov
spirituality?
Greenberg shares a story. He says the soldiers, the IDF soldiers, they're very, very good with technology, but at least the time that he said the story, I don't know if it still is that way. On the army bases, there are no washing machines. So the poor boys, when they get off, they take their duffel bag with all their dirty clothing and their uniforms, still the same. And they go home to their mommy. The mama does the laundry, and then next week they're back on the army base. So happened one soldier, he's hitchhiking home, and by mistake, he left his duffel bag in the car of the person who was giving him a ride. And after Shabbos, he gets a phone call from the person who had given him the ride, and he says, I have your duffel bag. He opened it up to find the name to return it. And I'll meet you at the same place where I picked you up, and I'll give you back your duffel bag. The soldier is very happy. He has all, at least his stuff could be returned. And fine, he gets his bag back and he heads back to the iron base. He gets to the iron base and he's thinking to himself, he wasn't so excited to open up the duffel bag to have his stinky laundry. Anyway, he opens up the bag. All of his clothing was all washed and folded, and there's a bag of chocolate chip cookies with a note. And this mother writes, my son is also a soldier and he likes these cookies. I hope you like these cookies too. And she had done his laundry. That makes you tired. That makes you tired.
Because you're using you versus a club. What was the catalyst that had everyone go to sleep? Like everyone. Rosh. That's my question.
The answer is when I'm not just thinking about my own laundry.
I did not be thinking, but how do I know how is it that everybody has the same switch?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
All the work and the characters that what if and people did not.
Everybody knows there's a God in play. There's a God in this picture. You talk about that one, made that.
It's hard to imagine. Hashem, this is something.
Yeah, Hashem wants
Yes. Hashem revealed. Okay. Panina is writing. Oh, I don't see the message.
How many people work for hang up?
And someone breaks into their house. Everyone is having to be pressure for that.
Okay, so Panina is asking, and a lot of you are asking this also, when we do for others with the right mindset, I find it more energizing, not tiring. Okay, so that's true. That's true. When we do for others.
Explaining it as an individual character who's here every single day. Chesed should be for now. You say is the week that is right before is actually coming to a place where you're taking all your character traits and creating a foundation of unity. Unity comes from having a strong foundation. When every person that clients will work on their character, the way the Sichos are so detailed, unreal. They put that effort in.
We're talking about right?
Right, 49 days.
Okay, and they came, Connie's explaining that they all came there.
Exhausted. After doing all that work, you're exhausted. You're physically drained from refining that part of yourself. That emotional refinement is physically draining. I can see it. I mean, I'm not drained, but I'm reading this book, and every week it's working on specific things that are against your nature or whatever it is. Of course, part of it is doing for others, but it's also on your own internal. And that is physically draining.
How does that make you into one?
Because when you're
Physically
ill,
draining.
when you're one, and when you're
Unified
unified,
and doctor, my friend.
unity is an out. Is an out.
That's an outlet, that's not.
No, unity is a result of internal peace and internal harmony that place for all your parts. And
Hashem do it?
Yes.
Same, yes, like he made this certain like layers of like the same way he revealed himself. It's so extensive. Yeah, it became almost like
Hashem.
the person of state is almost like not the natural state. That's what I remember learned. I just remember all the shares I learned. Yeah, it wasn't a normal experience. We weren't like.
It's psychological situation. It's a.
Yeah, we had a conversation. I was supposed to take words I see it.
Because at 600,000, then we go like you're working on it.
Wow.
Hashem did, something like that, out of the 49 out of their children. So how did that happen on 600,000 people?
That's all God.
It's a whole
Well, maybe we could understand. Now we break this the way we could understand. That's it.
Hashem revealed. Hashem revealed something that we all have inside of us, but he revealed it. That
That little bit of energy to work on ourselves, to be prepared to be Mahavira.
yeah, yes, and also
On the same level of unity, it has to be a miracle, because it's not working, you know, Robert was working,
Each one of us
still could be working.
No, but that's the point of Seer, that you're working within yourself, you come to a place of what we sow, which is foundation, which is unity. When each one of us are clearly who we are supposed to be from our core essence, that's what defines unity. Nothing was the same, you're on your level, I did my work, you did your work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's what it's everybody will do. Even about well, that's it, that's what.
okay, so I want to explain. Maybe about 10 years ago, I was doing a bas mitzvah club for girls. There were 3 girls in the group, Carly and Haley Stopira, they're twins, and then Kira Koraki. These kids did not, were not fortunate to have a Jewish education. And as their bas mitzvah is approaching, I said to them, wouldn't it be nice for you to start lighting Shabbos candles in preparation for your bas mitzvah? And I really want them to do it. So I suggested, maybe you could take a picture, you could have your parents, someone take a picture of you when you light the candles at the right time and send me the picture. So that's what happened. Carly and Haley, at the time, they were into cheer. Now, I don't know if you know what that is, but the uniform for cheer is not the most tznius uniform. And they were very into cheer. And they sent me a picture in their cheer clothing, lighting Shabbos candles. Precious, precious, precious. And Kira, she also sent me a picture. Well, she wasn't into cheer, but she had never lit a Shabbos candle before. I said, light a candle. I didn't specify what the candle should be. She sends me a picture of her lighting a yahrzeit candle. Mm-hmm. Now, I lit Shabbos candles that Friday. Kira lit a yahrzeit candle that Friday. And Carly and Haley lit their candles in their cheer clothing that Friday. So if you want, we could look at the differences. And there's many differences.
That there's intention.
Yeah, it's all in here.
Yeah, there's more than that.
I'm going to the core. We're going to the core. What happens is when the Yidden come to Har Sinai, Hashem lifts everybody up to a place where we only see the core. We don't see the differences. It's not about what type of candle you lit, and it's not about the clothing that you were wearing. You lit the candle on time, and you made the bracha, and you brought Shabbos in. He lifted us up to a place of essence, where when essence is revealed, then everything else is irrelevant.
That close.
Now she's saying.
Because you're in a walk and you have Hashem with your body and your soul, you stay there. You're ultimately quiet and you just.
That's what I was saying.
You're just quiet because there's nothing to say. When you see the picture of this kid lighting a yahrzeit candle, all you could do is be quiet. Who's gonna open their mouth and say, "Oh, why did you light that kind of candle?" Don't you know this is not,
No,
the purity.
A certain connection, like I was saying, when I looked again back to the Shabbos home, or when a moment of inspiration, like a certain feeling that you're getting, like a spiritual, like you see all different types of things they're doing, and like what is it? Like there's a certain there's a certain connection that people are feeling. They're all the same direction. They're feeling that divinely inspiration connect.
Almost like there's a circuit around that.
Right, like we're all in this together. We all want to connect. There's a certain. That's like almost like that. I feel like that feeling. Like we're like all connected relationally. Not thinking about who you married to. There's a certain stripping you of all your outside things. But leibachad, it's that light, the Shabbos light. We're all in this for God. Like that's how I feel.
Okay. Yeah.
My husband ended up in Germany this week.
Wow.
I was there.
Like that story, Robin.
Like, and they ended up in the Dachau concentration camp.
Wow.
And while they were there was a Jew from Brazil, and he mentioned that his father was in 6 concentration camps, and this was the worst. And so they were 8 people who missed their connecting flight, my husband and his shul group, and they said, "So do you want to say Kaddish for your father?" And he said yes, and they were one short. And then there was a huge group of non-Jewish people in the touring at that time, and one Jew from Israel we didn't know he was Jewish. He said, "I'm Jewish."
Wow.
And he joined, and my son said it was just such an incredible feeling. Yiskadol Kaddish. He said, "Isn't it amazing how Jews can meet each other from all different parts of the world and we become one?" And I think that's what you're talking about. When we see each other, there's such a love.
That's exactly what we're talking about. Exactly what we're talking about. That you could be in a concentration camp and have the 10th guy to come and make the minyan to say Kaddish. 100%. That's exactly what we're talking about. Okay. So let's just see okay. So there's 2 points here. The first point is the Yidden were tired. The Yidden were tired from their exhausting spiritual work. And therefore, Rosh Chodesh Sivan was just quiet, just living in that moment of that unity. But that is still a little bit negative. Like, here you're climbing higher every single day to get to Har Sinai, working higher, working on yourselves to reach higher and higher levels. And then, okay, yeah, you're the momentum is getting stronger and stronger, but then it seems like a negative. Okay, one day they stop and slow down. So what the Rebbe so the Rebbe gives a deeper explanation, which we're already understanding, and that is that this concept of being quiet and stopping wasn't something negative, but rather was something positive. It was actually an incredible transformation, not just that we're trying to not just that we're trying to give an answer, oh, why didn't anything happen on that day? No. They had the unity, but rather we're saying that actually this Rosh Chodesh Sivan is actually necessary. It's a necessary step, and it's even a higher step then all the other days are going to come after. It's higher than Beis and higher than Gimel and higher than Dal and higher than Hey. You need the Aleph. You need the Rosh Chodesh Sivan. You need this incredible revelation of essence of which it's quiet. It's quiet because there's nothing left to say. There's nothing left to say when you reach a point of essence. The revelation is so powerful that all the ego and the self and the externalities of everyone's differences just falls away. And that Rosh Chodesh, what was accomplished on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, that unity, then when they reached that incredible level of seeing the essence, then they took that power from Rosh Chodesh Sivan and they brought it down into Beis, into Gimel, into Dalet, into Hey, and they used it in order to get to Matan Torah. That was necessary. That was the key. The key preparation was the revelation of the essence and the being quiet and the quiet and the unity. That was the key in order to actually have Matan Torah. So it's not just don't feel bad nothing was done that day, but rather, no, this was the highest step. This was the greatest moment for the preparation for receiving the Torah. Yeah.
Why is it as a negative when it's so quiet? Why is the argument negative?
So we already gave the answer.
Right, but why negative? I'm going to give you the answer. I don't see it as negative. I see it as a positive.
Excellent.
So why are you seeing it as a negative?
Yeah. So originally, before we learned the Hasidic perspective, it could seem negative that they came and they were so tired that they couldn't do anything on that day.
Negative. Okay, fine.
But we're saying that actually that actually this was the key preparation for the giving of the Torah. Once you could highlight the Pintele Yid, the spark, once you could highlight the spark in every single Jew, then you're able to receive the Torah.
Even Jews you don't love so much.
That point love everybody. That point all the
I know,
separation.
I know.
Still full of love.
You know, but that's the challenge, though, seeing
In
it
the
that-
day-to-day life.
Yes.
You have just like,
You know, like Rabbi Jacobson says, the Goyim, they're anti-Semitic, some of them, but they'll say, but I love my accountant and I love my doctor. The Jews say, I love every single Jew, but I don't like my neighbor so much. That's where the challenge comes in.
Yeah.
That's getting out of your glory. That's where you're trying to keep differently.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. I'm just, I think.
So as long as each of us are on our own path, we are not ready to receive the Torah. What is so special about Shavuos? What is so special about the giving of the Torah? What is different? What is the change? Before, it's my kids. Okay, mommy's in the middle of a class. Okay, I'm going to call you at 3:00. Yeah. Tell him to take the black van to Shiver's house. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, it's Memorial Day. My kids had half a day of school. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Okay, what's so special about Shavuos? Before the giving of the Torah, we had the Avos. They also learned Torah. The Yeshiva Shem Ve'ever. When the Yidden were in Egypt, when Yaakov came down to Egypt, right? He sent Yehuda before him to build yeshivas. They were learning Torah from day one. So what is the difference? What happened in Matan Torah? And we always learn what happened to Matan Torah, that there was a gezerah, that the spiritual couldn't come down, the physical couldn't go up. That's true. We learned that in many other teachings, but today we're going to learn something new. What is the uftu? What is the accomplishment of Matan Torah? And that is that until Matan Torah, you want to come close to Hashem. You want to come close to Hashem. That's wonderful. You could only reach as far as your mind can go. It's limited according to your intellectual ability. That's how much you could grasp. That's how much you could learn. That's how much you could connect. What happened on Matan Torah? We're not just getting a set of books. What does it say? Not just what happened then, but what happens every single day. Hashem gave us his Torah. And when Hashem gave us his Torah, he didn't just give us an intellectual thing, an intellectual wisdom to learn. But what does it say? That Hashem put himself into the Torah. When Hashem gives us the Torah every single day, when Hashem gave us the Torah on Har Sinai, Hashem gave us the Torah, and through giving us the Torah, Hashem gave us himself. When we learn Torah, we embrace Hashem, and Hashem embraces us, like we learn in Parakeh of Tanya, which says, what's the first word of the Aseret HaDibros? Anoichi Hashem Alekecha. Anoichi is an Aramaic, it's not Hebrew. Why Aramaic? Why an Aramaic word? Okay, so first of all, you know that not just Hebrew, but the Torah penetrates everything, not just the holy tongue. But Anoichi stands for, it's an acronym for, Anoichi stands for Ana Nafshis Kisavis Yehavis, which means, Hashem says, I wrote myself into the Torah. You learn Torah, you're grasping me, you're taking me. And Hashem is infinite. So up until the giving of the Torah, you could only connect as far as your limited abilities could take you. But the the possibility for a Jew to connect, to unite, to become one with Hashem, that's what happened by Matan Torah. And it's not, and even if you're not a big scholar, even if you just open up a Chumash and read Bereshis Bara Elokim and you have absolutely no idea what that means, the most simplest Jew and the greatest Jew, Moshe Rabbeinu, and the most simplest Yid are equally connected to Hashem. And that's what was revealed on Rosh Chodesh Sivan. And that's why it was necessary in order to have Matan Torah. Because you have to reveal that part, that piece, that Pintla Yid, that essence. Thank you so much for coming. We are all one. And it's the essence. And once you reveal the essence, then we could connect to Hashem. Then we could be truly one with Hashem. You can't connect with an infinite God, and you can't connect with your fellow Jew if there's so many layers, external layers of there's me and there's my ego and there's my talents and there's my opinions and there's how I look at things, and it's all true. Because we're not all, when we're talking about unity, it's not that we all need to be, that we're just going to open up the crayon box and we're all going to be red crayons. No. True unity is that we could each of us be a different color, and we should all be in the same crayon box, and we all have differences, and to have our differences and to rise above our differences and to still see the essence of every single Jew and not get stuck on the differences, but to see the essence, to see the depth. And once we see the depth of another Jew, then once you see the depth of another Jew, then you could see the depth of yourself, and then your essence could connect with Hashem. The same thing. We have to get to a point that we're able to reveal who we are, our essence. And once we're able to do that for our friend, and your essence is shining, then of course we could connect with an infinite God and be one with an infinite God. So long as Torah is an intellectual pursuit, then the whole thing is very limited. If I never had an opportunity to learn, then I have no chance. But what happens in Rosh Chodesh Sivan is that you reveal that Moshe Rabbeinu and the most simplest Jew, to find the common denominator, to find the equality between them. And that is necessary. That is what's necessary in order for us to unite with Hashem. There is something that unites us, although we are so different from each other. Before Matan Torah, before the giving of the Torah, you could learn Torah as an intellectual pursuit, but it doesn't change you. After Matan Torah, once we reveal the oneness, once we reveal the essence, then we could unite with Hashem's oneness. Hashem says, "Oisi atem loikhim." You are actually taking me. We're actually grasping Hashem when we're learning Torah. It's not just the level of IQ.
What does it mean, embracing Hashem, and Hashem is embracing you? What does that feel
I
like?
think each person is different.
What is it supposed to feel like? What does it actually feel like?
I think that first, I think that in order to understand what it feels like to embrace Hashem and for Hashem to embrace us, I think the first step is to find that essence connection with another Jew. And then it kind of comes automatically.
You're talking about a felt sense.
So that's exactly what's going on. It's not just an intellectual thing.
No.
It's an experience and it's a feeling of connection. It's a sensation. It's not that we have to see when we're sitting and learning Torah right now. When we walk out of here, it's not just that I acquired more information, but rather what happens is that I'm connected to Hashem, and then I become transformed. There's a transformation and a real connection to Hashem. Something you could really feel that really could change you. When you learn math, it doesn't change you. It could make you very smart. But Torah is a different thing. Torah, when you learn Torah, when we learn Torah, that is how
I think I would.
we grasp Hashem.
Is that helpful? I'm sorry, like.
I'm not feeling that feels.
So actually, as soon as you explained it, I got super quiet instead of like doing that. And I took it inside and it felt like, wow, that was a piece for me. A transformation piece, just sharing. I was like, whoa, okay, that changed me. So that's helpful. But I have my inner sensations maybe elsewhere than you would have it or you would have it. You know, so my chest is buzzing away, like my chest area, my throat, and I'm like, wow, okay. And it feels like I'm feeling like the connection, Hashem's, you know, like, and that for me that's what I do.
Okay, so let's try to
You understand?
yeah. So let's try with this example. I guess it was 2 years ago. My daughter roughly went to seminary in Israel. And it was Hanukkah time, and my brother-in-law, her uncle, got married. She really, really wanted to come home. She was homesick like crazy. So we couldn't say no. She came home for Hanukkah. And then the wedding, I don't remember exactly what day the wedding was. Anyway, in seminary, they have a trip to Eilat. And at the end of Hanukkah, right after Hanukkah, and since it was a trip to Eilat, she could have stayed in America even a few extra days more because anyway, there was no learning. And I said, Rachel, you can't miss that trip. Mama, I was born in Eilat. You got to go to Eilat. You can't miss that. And she really wanted to stay. And I was like, okay, what's it going to help? We'll extend the ticket an extra 3 days. What's that going to help? Is it really going to make a difference? Anyway, we literally pushed the kid out the door. It was heartbreaking. But she was here for a week and she went back. Anyway, she calls me, Ma, I'm trying to get from the airport to Tzfas, and I have like 5% battery. I'm in Tel Aviv, and I'm lost with my heavy suitcase, and it's getting darker, and she is alone. In Tel Aviv, she says, I'm sitting on the curb and I'm crying. Now, what am I supposed to do? Okay?
Cry along with her.
What am I supposed to do?
Who was supposed to really pick her up?
No, she was supposed to take public transportation. She had already been in Israel for a few months. She knew how to get around, whatever, at least somewhat. Also, if you have a charged phone, that would also help. But anyway, I guess when she was traveling with her, she was usually with her friends. Here she was alone. So I thought, okay, take a deep breath. And I start to think, who do I know in Tel Aviv? Fast forward, when we moved to Tom's River, almost 21 years ago. Our very first Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we did at the Ramada Inn. And the receptionist, like the one who gives you the rooms, we were dealing with her, and comes Rosh Hashanah, and we were there for Rosh Hashanah, and I don't know how it happened, but basically she told us her name is Niva, she's Jewish, and of course we invited her to hear the shofar. That started our relationship with Niva from the very first Rosh Hashanah that we were here. And she really wanted to have children. She was like, she was engaged for like 7 years, and then finally she had this baby. His name is Aviv. We made sure he had a bris. He's the same age as Nassim. Anyway, the two of them made a lot of trouble together. I won't go into that. But anyway, the point is that she had this child, and when he was about 3 years old, she wanted to have more children, and the insurance, whatever she was able to do here, was maxed out, and she went to Israel because over there she'd have more opportunity to continue trying to have children. And she moved back. So we knew her for like 10 years in Tom's River, and she moved back, and she's in Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for coming. I went on Facebook. Usually I'm not on Facebook. I found Niva's number. I called Niva. I said, Niva, Rachi is crying on some street in Tel Aviv. Can you please go help her? And she did have a baby. She did have another baby. She has 2 more babies. She had a baby or 2 as well. And she put the baby in the car, or babies in the car, and it was Tel Aviv, and it was rush hour, and it took her an hour to get to Rachi. Rachi needed a hug. The end was, what did Niva do? She found the cab, and she told, we got a cab to take. I mean, we could have done that also. Rachi needed a hug from Hashem, and it came in the form of Niva. So what I'm saying is that when you're desperate. You're desperate. And I reached out to Niva. Why did I reach out to Niva? I reached out to Niva because of our essence, because of the essence relationship of the Pintel Yid relationship. That no matter what she was doing, she was going to drop everything and find my kid because there was a connection between us that was deeper. It was a spiritual connection. It was a shofar connection. It was a Shabbos. She would come with her son Friday night to our house because she wanted to have a Shabbos experience for her son. It was a Shabbos connection. It was a neshama connection. It was a shofar connection. That's what I reached out to. And then when you reveal that, when you connect in that way, then it's a hug from Hashem. So I'm saying it's all one. It's one thing. As soon as you hit essence, as soon as you touch essence, then it's a very fine line. Essence with another Jew, essence with Hashem. Just get to essence.
Essence is always with action. Comes together with an action.
Does essence always come with action? It's a revelation. It's a perspective. It's looking at it's a neshama connection. It's a neshama connection. It's going deeper. It's going beyond the surface. It's going to a place.
But apparently, like the case specific examples that you're giving, it's an action. She went to get your daughter. That's how.
But she went to get my daughter because what was activated was the essence. The action was activated because of a neshama connection. It was. Yeah.
I just heard something really interesting.
Fascinating.
These friends were meeting at the hotel. Group of friends were meeting at the hotel, and they met. They saw a group of priests. They saw groups of non-Jewish people, or whatever it was. Yeah, okay. And one of them congratulated the Pope. Oh, congratulations on your new Pope. And somebody said, what made you do that? He goes, you know what? I just did it. It's a people Hashem. You acknowledge another group of people, whatever. And then they went down towards the hotel, and they'd see a few priests all dressed in this whole regalia. And I guess they were part of that group also in a certain way. And they sort of said something to them. So then one of them, the youngest one, says, "Oh, you know, this priest's mother is Jewish.
Oh, wow.
And his mother's mother is Jewish." Or the guy says, "And his mother's mother was Jewish." So the persons, they had a little chat, whatever it was. And then he said, the person who saw the story said that he went quickly to a Chabad stand. Shabbos was something like in 10 minutes. Went to get a pair of film, thinking, let me, at least he should put on tefillin. You know, he's 82 years old, his mother's Jewish, whatever it was. And they put on tefillin. And he told him about Shema and having the bar mitzvah, or whatever it was. And that was it. And he just said goodbye afterwards. But just from saying hello as a Kiddush Hashem, all of a sudden they connected to them in that way. And he was able to connect to him at 80 years old to let him know that, you know, please have a bar mitzvah and say Shema. And he goes, people are looking like all of a sudden everyone's wearing these, you know, priestly clothing and the guy's wrapping his tefillin, you know, but the connection, the unity.
That's exactly the point. This is exactly the point we're saying. Sarah Rabin is on the Zoom, and she's from England, and she sent me a WhatsApp message on Motzei Shabbos that I'm going to share. Thank you, Sarah. Okay. And the reason why I'm sharing this is to explain that everyone has a story where you connected to someone on an essence level, and on that level, you're buttle, and buttle being bittul, that is the quiet. When it's not about me, when you reach a place of essence, and we all touch other. Sometimes we touch someone's essence, like the story that you said. You touch someone else's essence. Sometimes someone touches your essence. But this essence that we're talking about, this is the key. This is the key. If in order for us to be connected to the essence of Hashem, we need to see other people for their essence, and we need to see ourselves for our essence.
Honey, can I just say?
Yeah.
If I got something, it's an internal struggle that goes wild. There's like an internal struggle that's inside you, and that calms down.
What's the internal struggle?
Whatever it may be, a scenario, each thing, whatever it is.
When it's about me, there's a struggle. The minute that, you know, it's not about me, the struggle starts because the quiet.
I think
When
that's
we get to the
like the
essence,
story
like,
is asking, a feeling, it's an internal
solution.
struggle, yes. But if it simmers down as a result of X, Y, and Z.
Oh, this is for that.
That's people say exactly, thank you.
You know, I was
Am I made for this?
100%, 100%. Birds. When birds fly, what's the formation that the birds fly?
Oh, like in a V?
In a V, okay? Now, when you see birds flying, it's a V. V is for ve'ahavta l'reacha kamaycha.
That's so cool.
When birds fly, do you know why they're flying in that formation?
Helps each other.
That helps speed.
They could fly 70% faster when they're in a ve'ahavta formation than when they're flying on their own. Why? Because the bird in front of them, when they flap their wings, there's power and energy there. And that energy helps the bird behind them. That bird doesn't have to exert that much energy. They are using the energy of the bird in front of them to fly.
Thank you, bikers. For the biker. There's a bike. So the reason why you see them biking, there's a method. The reason why they bike like this, because it helps the next biker. That's why they bike like that in a row. There's a biking, I was a biker, so I know.
There's the wind,
the wind, the next one helps the next one. So that's why they bike right next to each other in a row.
So with birds, they actually, I didn't know this, they actually switch off. So the birds in the front, when they get tired, they'll switch off with the birds in the back, because the birds in the front is doing the most, is doing the most energy. Yes. And it's 70% faster.
They rotate, bikers do that.
So when we're able to go to be a bird to rise above the ego, the materialism, the differences. Rise above and be a bird and fly in a formation of Vahafta. That you're able to see, that you're able to love another person like yourself, see your essence, see their essence. Then we could connect with Hashem's essence, which is the gift of Torah. The gift of Torah is that now when a Jew learns, it's not just an intellectual exercise, but rather it's an opportunity to connect to Hashem, and that is what's novel about Matan Torah. They didn't have that before. And it could be this connection, this essence connection. It could be from different parts of the world. It could be different ages. And we're going to give a few examples to show that it doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the stage, doesn't matter the country, doesn't matter the location. You could connect with people. You could connect with people, especially today with Zoom, with all from all over the world. And you could have Vahafta, of course, to your neighbor and to everyone. And when we're together, when we fly together, no one could beat us. If you take a twig and you try to crack it, not very difficult. But if I give you 100 twigs bound up together with a rope, and I say, break this, you won't be able to. When we stand by ourselves, then we could be broken. But when we're united, no one could touch us. So instead of getting bogged down with the differences, and yes, there are differences of age, differences of levels of observance, there's differences of minhagim, there's differences of dress codes, there's no end to the differences. But if we could rise above the differences and reach the place of Ki'ish Echad B'Lev Echad, and not just that we all wear the same uniform or do the same thing, but that we really truly feel the unity that it could be someone in another country, another place. Why is it that we care so much about the hostages? Why? Because we're truly one heart. We're truly one heart. So as long as there's one hostage in Gaza, it affects us in a very deep way. And the more we're in touch with our essence, the more it actually affects us. And the more we're into Gashmias, then the more covered up it is. But the point of Shavuos, the point of Rosh Chodesh Sivan is reveal who you are, reveal who your children are, reveal for yourself, for everyone, and that's the answer. That is the answer. Okay. So here, this is from Sarla, from England. Edgware, UK. Gutvach, here's a story. This past Friday, I was listening to the recording of your shir while I was in a hospital waiting room with my husband. I hear you tell the story of Rivka Holzberg giving away her diamond ring. Then my husband asked me for something to eat, which I gave him. I think about the other man in the waiting room who has also been there for several hours like we were. He told us he was 90 years old. At that point, I wasn't sure if he was Jewish. I see he doesn't have any food with him, and all he had was water to drink. I thought, if Rivki could give away her diamond ring, I could offer him the small bar of chocolate I was going to eat. I asked him if he was hungry and if he was allowed chocolate. He was very thankful, and he said that it took the edge off his hunger. He then told us that he belonged to Hashem, and proceeded to ask us if it was going to be a Yom Tov. We told him it was Shavuos next week. He knew the Yom Tov. His taxi then arrived, so we didn't manage to carry on the conversation. At least we brought up some awareness of Shavuos. The point was more the fact of being inspired by the story to give of what we have to others at their time of need. Okay, so he's sitting in Bela's house in Toms River, New Jersey. Someone could hear the class in the UK and gives a man a chocolate bar, not even knowing for sure that he's Jewish, and that reveals his Pintel Yid. that he's a Jew and that Shavuos is coming. That Shavuos is coming, which is all about revealing, the essence. Two more little anecdotes, and then okay. When my daughter Mushka, 23 years ago, when Mushka was 3 months old, today's her English birthday. Okay, so 22 years and 9 months ago. No, the other way around. 23 years, 23 years and 3 months ago, and 3 months. We went to Shanghai, China, to take over for the shluchim. We went for 3 weeks. The shlucha, Dini Greenberg, she went to Hong Kong to have a baby. Wasn't safe then to have a baby in Shanghai. We took over for 3 weeks, and I had just had mushka, and a lady came over to me on Sukkot, and she did not look religious, traditional, and she said, "I need a favor. I need to go to the mikveh. Would you go with me?" Now, there was no mikveh there. Going to mikveh meant driving for 2 hours to the ocean and jumping in. And of course, I went with her. And I took a picture of Mushka in her car seat, so that when she gets married and complains about mikvah, I'll be able to show her where she was at 3 months old. Just joking. But anyway, for me, mikvah was a difficult thing. I was, new at it. And here, this woman was ready to fulfill the mitzvah. And she said, "I have no idea why I do it. I just do it because that's our family tradition." Now, she was Israeli, and the Israelis, they come for like 5 to 7 years to China for business, and then they go back. So here you have, how old was I? What was I? All of 22, year old American, well, slash Israeli girl in Shanghai, China, and then there's an Israeli woman there as well, and you have, the mix of the place and the people and the ages and everything together, and just picture it. Just picture it. That's a revelation of essence. Revelation, that was a lesson for me. I will never complain about mikveh again. But I'm saying that it spans through countries and ages and levels of observance. But it was an essence moment. It was an essence moment to see a person from their, to look at them, to judge them, not by whether they cover their hair or not, not by whether, not by their level of, it's a tricky thing, because mikvah is also an observance. It's also a mitzvah. But I'm saying to see the essence, to see the wow, to see the, she had permission to jump into the ocean during the day. There was big boats out there, filthy water, and to go in a very loose fitted robe. And there was a life like a life preserver, a tube, and she jumped in. But to see the purity, to see the emeskite, to see the essence of someone who's doing it, not because she could tell you why, but it was a shining neshama moment. And then I'll tell you one more thing. So my baby Label, he's a year and a half, and he's at the stage where he wishes he could talk and communicate, but the words are car and not much more. Cookie, Those are the basics, right? And of course, mama and tata, whatever, but he can't say much. And I still nurse him. And when I'm not able to understand him, he gets very frustrated. And I'm holding him in my hands to nurse him. And he says to me, Nanam. And I'm like, how in the world am I going to figure out what this kid wants? And then all of a sudden it hit me. I know what he wants. He wants me to sing a niggin, Ayinanam. That's how it starts. And this niggin is my favorite niggin. My most favorite thing to do as a child was to sing with my father by the Shabbos table when I was allowed to. When there were no, guests, or when I was still young enough to not realize. My father, Mr. Hashem, is turning 70 years old. We're going to celebrate his birthday the same Shabbos as Rachi Shem Brachas Mr. Hashem. So he's turning 70. And when I was in Sfas, I wasn't stuck in Tel Aviv on the curb. I would go to my aunts and uncles for Shabbos, and I could close my eyes and feel that I was home because my uncles were singing this same niggin that my father sings at our Shabbos table. So I could literally close my eyes and I was transported I was home. So this niggin I sing to my kids as babies when I put them to sleep. And here this 1.5-year-old, and this morning again, this wasn't even the night. He wakes up in the morning, he points, he wants me to nurse him, and he tells me nanam. And so what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter the age. You could have a 18-month-old baby, but that's an essence moment. That's a neshama shining moment that a baby is asking for a niggin. That I so much cherish, that I learned from my father who's so much older. So we all have that. We all have that neshama, that pintele yid, the spark, the essence, whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. What happened on Rosh Chodesh Sivan is that Hashem lifted us up to a bird's eye view, and Hashem said, Kindalach, look from the perspective, look from my perspective. See another Jew from the way I see another Jew. And that was so powerful that that we became so humble. There was nothing to say. There was nothing to say in a good way. It was such a beautiful moment to savor, to bask in that moment of lifting ourselves up and seeing the essence of another Jew. And then once we're able to do that, we were able to take that power and bring it down into the second, third, fourth, fifth day of Sivan until to use that power to actually prepare for Matan Torah, when Hashem is giving us His essence. Hashem says, I'm when you learn Torah, I'm giving you my essence. But we have to first understand, we have to first get it. We have to first see the essence. You have to first see the essence in a woman who's jumping into the ocean for mikvah. To see the essence of Stephen Katz, who davens until 3 p.m. every single word in English. And by the way, he walked. Just a couple of weeks ago, he walked to come to Shabbos morning to come to us. He didn't drive. When we said we speak good about someone, then it actually brings out their positivity. That brings out their essence. It's everything. It's all connected. It's all one. It's all the same. The Chassidus. It's the same thing again and again. When you experience essence, when you experience essence in another Jew, experience essence in yourself, then we're able to grasp Hashem's essence. And we're able to see that the Torah, it's not just Bereishis bara Elokim, but you're able to take Hashem with you, in every single part of to be one with Hashem, and to have Hashem to be united with Hashem, and that it should impact the entire day and your entire life. It's living on a higher plane. With this, I wish everyone that we should makabel the Torah b'simcha v'pnimius. We should have a healthy summer, and we should merit we should merit the Matan Torah, which is the wedding of the Yidden and Hashem, which is going to be which is the ultimate is with the coming of Mashiach. Okay. Thank you, Chami. Thank you, Panina. Thank you, Sarala, for joining us and for your inspiration.
And I wanna also share, that was important.
You want the computer?
Fine, but. Never-
Hi, Fadi. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
From two different sides, so it's very.
The cousins?
Two, never, my husband's first cousin's kid was Mentor.
Wow.
Now, was my husband's first cousin's kid, one from my mother's north side, one from my father's side.
So it's your husband's first cousins, oh, very close.
Very sad, they're not even friends, they were not, all five boys were not, not all of them knew each other. Anyway, I started a wedding last night because the nephew got married, and the mother of the boy that brought Hashem survived, said he was learning, late, and he was teaching right home. And his friend said, you know, you're telling me you're gonna come with God, and he said, no, I'm taking my phone. And they get in the car, and he said, I'll just put your phone down, he said, no, his phone stayed with me. And he was in the back seat, and he had his phone on his lap.
Wow.
And he walked out of the accident, and he was holding his phone with him. So that phone is, was in the start, Baruch Hashem, he's fine, it's just amazing to see how he was very much this, but his phone always been with him, and it seems like really. She doesn't know why, I'm saying Baruch Hashem, he might have it's surviving, but. Yeah. We don't want to survive. Thankfully, it's not, he's the one. What
are we talking about, the boys, the offer?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for joining.
But,